Is Ripple going to IPO in 2025? We got the answer directly from Brad Garlinghouse. We also have some updates around Hidden Road, updates around the European Central Bank's push for a digital euro. Will that be on the XRP ledger? We're going to discuss that in detail. Update about the DTCC upgrading their infrastructure to blockchain. Of course, we got to talk about that. XRP, Ripple news and information at the end. Let's go ahead and get into this. If you get any value, please hit like.
The reality, most companies that go public do that to raise capital. We haven't needed to raise capital, and so that has not been a driving force. We have talked a little bit about would we go public, and it's like, well, the U.S. market until recently has been very hostile, and like, why would we even try to have that conversation? I mean, I guess the exact answer to the question, will we IPO in 2025? I think that's a definitive no.
Okay.
We're in 2025, and it certainly takes a little bit of time to.
That's a definitive no. I've had this same opinion that I've shared multiple times in my content, saying that I don't think Ripple is going to IPO in 2025. The markets are slipping downwards. Ripple doesn't need to raise money. They can, as a private company, they can make decisions and take the company wherever they want to go. If they are public, they have to answer to the stockholders. So Ripple has no big incentive to IPO right now. And so if anyone in your life is telling you that Ripple is going to IPO, show them this content.
Get there. But I also think you have to ask yourself, okay, how does Ripple benefit from being a public company? And, therefore, is it a high priority for us? So what we've said is there's no imminent plans to go public. I will acknowledge that a change in the SEC in the United States, as he said earlier, as conditions change, you never say never, and you reevaluate as you.
All right. And we know Paul Atkins is now at the SEC. All right. So Hidden Road, recently acquired by Ripple, gains FINRA approval to operate as a broker dealer. Hidden Road can now provide institutional clients with a suite of compliant prime brokerage, clearing, and financing services in fixed income assets. So here is the article, April 17th, which is today's date. You also have a little bit more background on this. So Digital Asset Investor says, we try to tell everybody Ripple is no ordinary company. XRP is no ordinary digital asset. The world will soon find out. He is commenting on Anderson's post here. This acquisition is clearly part of Ripple's plan of becoming the Amazon of crypto, which Brad has stated being Ripple's ultimate goal. At numerous occasions, Amazon started with selling books, and now they're selling everything. Ripple started with cross-border payments, and they will end up offering all kinds of financial services to institutions, pretty much bringing them into the future. We've talked about this so much on this channel. What does Ripple do very well, surgically even? They take one idea and they go in and they master that idea, whether it's infrastructure, stable coin technology, tokenization of assets, whatever it is, they are very surgical when they go about doing all this. And then they move to the next thing. They perfect it and then they move on. Who knows what next steps Ripple has in store? I am working on trying to get an interview with somebody at Ripple so we can ask those exact questions. All right. I don't really need to read what Nick's saying here. If you want to pause it and do it, cool. All right. So Smoke Dog posted this today even. So he says the Euro system is working on a wholesale digital euro. Ripple plus digital euro plus wholesale CBDCs. We know that Christine Lagarde is the president of the European Central Banks. Christine Lagarde used to be the head of the IMF. And so what you have here is somebody that truly understands how important the technology is, but also understands that they don't want to be involved in stuff like with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was used and still is used for illicit activity. All right. And so when the heads of the European Central Bank are putting all of this together, they've already picked a winner. Make no mistake. They've already chosen the technology they want to work with. They've been sandbox testing this technology for a decade. They know what they want. Now they need to get the public on board and then push it home. So here is definition of digital euro, retail CBDCs versus wholesale CBDCs. We all understand that retail is for you and I and for businesses. So if we go to Target or Walmart or wherever it is that you shop and you have, $100 in stable coins, you can spend that $100 wherever you want, whatever business. Wholesale is central bank to bank. Okay. That is, we don't have an account at the Federal Reserve. Our bank does. And then we have an account with the bank. And that's how that's all interconnected. It says the Euro system is working on a wholesale CBDC, also called New Technology Based Wholesale, based on DLT to target services, right? This is an instant payment system. Track developers and more integrated possible shared infrastructure for the settlement of DLT transactions in central bank money in the long term. And then here is, Ripple has been a part of the Digital Euro Association for quite some time. As you can see that this particular Zoom event in this paper was written in cooperation with Ripple. All right. So they've been involved in this from the start. DTCC, Depository Trust Clearing Corporation. They clear about $2 to $3 quadrillion a year. They are working with Chainlink. They're also going to be working with a handful of partners to do settlement. All right. Let me play this for you.
The Great Collateral Experiment is the culmination of many years of work where we're very proud to bring to market today a common infrastructure to be able to move collateral at the speed of the network. Our intent is to create a common platform where, whether it's tri-party providers, it is broker-dealers, the buy side, the sell side, will all have a digital platform, modern in its format, to be able to transact and move collateral efficiently.
The pace of movement of collateral, due to the need to integrate many institutional systems, slows things down. By automating collateral movement through blockchain and through smart contracts, we're able to unlock this liquidity and really transform institutional finance to allow for real-time settlement of complex financial transactions, instant movement of collateral globally, and even execution of complex financial trades at a pace and with a level of customization that hasn't existed previously.
Okay, if you're not familiar with this, the DTCC has been working for the past 6 to 7 years about going digital. It might be actually a little bit longer now. We've been talking about this for quite some time, but it's been quite a long time that they've been testing and working with a bunch of different companies. Now, there is some disagreement in the crypto space about what settlement asset will be used here. Now, the DTCC early days had some workings and partnerships with R3, but we know that over the last few years, R3 has been suffering from lack of actual paying customers. We also know that R3 uses XDC, right? The issue that I have brought forward that I don't hear a lot of other people on this matter talking about this, just like, oh, XRP is going to be used. Well, technically, R3 and XDC are supposed to be used as a settlement asset. The question I have is, XDC is based out of Singapore, okay? Why would an American... So this is a financial market infrastructure. This settles quadrillions of dollars, right? Post-trade settlement. This is one of the largest pieces of infrastructure for the settlement of stocks and bonds and those types of things the United States has. Why would they use a cryptocurrency based out of Singapore? That is my issue that I am having here, right? I know that Donald Donahue used to be the CEO of the DTCC. He actually quit the DTCC or retired from the DTCC and went to work for Ripple as a board member. So I know Ripple has been working hand in hand with people in and out of the DTCC for quite some time. What they will use for settlement is still yet to be seen. I just can't imagine they're going to use XDC. I think if they did that, it would be such a big wasted opportunity, right? I mean, we keep hearing that all of these things that are being done right now in the Trump administration are to help support Americans. So why wouldn't we use an American blockchain as a settlement asset or as, a bridge asset to clear this money, right? Like, it wouldn't make sense to use, something out of Asia or something out of China when, we're pretty much at war. The US is, right? The Trump administration is at war with the Chinese administration right now, right? We're going back and forth on tariffs. So what are they going to do? This is where I'm stuck. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I hope by me sharing my concerns and my issues that you can, help better understand how I'm approaching this step by step.
Let me tell you about one of the native primitives on the XRP ledger. auto bridging. You see, here we're at a money exchange. But what if you're trying to swap between two currencies, large amounts, and there's limited liquidity between each one? Well, with auto bridging, essentially what it does is it improves exchange rates and liquidity by using XRP as the bridging token. So essentially what it's going to do is, if you have a look here, you're going to see these different ones. So that's actually a good one. I don't even know really what exactly that currency is, MYR. Let's say I want to do MYR to... What it's going to do is it's going to take MYR, put it into XRP, and then XRP back out to SEK. And that's how the auto bridging feature works.
Man, it's good to see people are finally catching up to why XRP is going to be used on a big scale. This is some very basic information, but it's good to there's a lot of new people coming in. And so the quicker that they can learn these types of things, the better off they will be as well. Here's Jay Klaver talking about what could cause price appreciation on the XRP ledger. I, of course, have some input and some ideas. I'm sure you do too. Let's listen to this and we'll go over this together.
How would we see the price appreciation? You need two things. You need a supply shock, which is what we saw in 2017 when they locked up half the supply. We had a supply shock. There wasn't as much on exchanges. There was high demand. You saw the price go up. There was volume. There's purchasing. There's trading of XRP. It's moving across the network. That's what causes price appreciation for XRP. The more transactions move over the network, the more liquidity has to be in XRP to be able to settle those transactions. But those transactions can't even move across the network until there's enough liquidity in XRP to be able to start settling those. So the way that the price appreciation is going to happen is that we need the ETFs. That'll be institutional capital that will move into the market in a tsunami, along with illiquid exchanges when Tether goes bad from the stablecoin regulation and the sanctions that I think will be imposed on Tether. Everybody will need XRP all at one time. And when that happens, there will be a supply shock for XRP because there's only about 1 billion XRP left on the exchanges for people to purchase. Retail might hold 1.5 billion in aggregate total across all of retail holders, maybe 2 billion. We'll be generous with it, but I think it's less than that. Some of those people will sell, so let's say there's another 500 million that flows onto the exchanges from retail selling. So now we got 1.5 billion. That's like $3 billion, $4 billion. Institutions have way more capital than that, and especially if they're having to buy 20, 30, 50 XRP per share of the ETF to back it. You're going to see wild amounts of demand all at one time because we're going to have somewhere around 20 ETFs all go live at the same time for XRP. So that will push the price to, let's just say it goes to $50 or $100. Now there's enough liquidity in XRP to start settling some of these transactions. Swift in particular could start using XRP to settle transactions at that point, partnering with Ripple or partnering with R3 to do it. And now you have consistent volume over the network that would hold the price at that high price once the volume and the supply shock has happened to drive it there.
A lot of good information there. I didn't understand a few things that Jake was saying about how much XRP is actually on exchanges because, the circulating supply of XRP is 58 billion. Yes, there's a large share of XRP that is in yours and my wallets and of course Ripple team and all the early investors and this and that, but there's quite a substantial amount of XRP on some of these exchanges. This really wasn't helpful. How much XRP is on exchanges? I remember seeing a bunch of stuff on Twitter. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Let me see. No, that's validators. Hold on. Bear with me. How much XRP is on exchanges? I've seen this recently. I've done videos on this, right? Let's see here. Here is a list, right? There's a lot more than 1 billion XRP on exchanges. That's the only thing I didn't understand. Maybe I misheard what he was saying, but this is pretty up to date. What is this? This was posted 8 hours ago. All right, there you go. We got 2.6 billion on Binance. Now, this could be some people's XRP, I guess, but Uphold, Bithumb, Coinbase. There's billions of XRP out there. And then, there's hundreds of millions on some of these other smaller exchanges. So, when this XRP is starting to be bought up, when there is a shock of supply, that is when XRP's price will dramatically increase. All right, so what are you? Are you a no coiner? Are you a shrimp, crab, octopus, fish, dolphin, shark, whale, or big whale? Right? Where are you on this chart? And where do you want to be? Right? is, I'm sure XRP is maybe not the only thing that you're looking at long term, but let me know down in the comments if you're willing to share where you are or where you want to be eventually before this thing kicks off. All right. I wanted to often when I see, XRP army or XRP community doing some cool stuff, I want to highlight that. I love that. So here is XRP Bart. He says he's flying the flag of XRP in the Great Pyramid. Was amazing to be the first crypto. It was amazing to be the first crypto in the pyramid. I love that, man. What would have been really cool is if he would have taken 10 or 50 XRP, put it on a thumb drive and hid it somewhere in the pyramid, Could you imagine 1,000 years fast forward, XRP is at 10 million per token because inflation is just so bad, right? And this person's like, oh, I just found $10 billion in XRP in the Great Pyramid. That would be so cool, man. All right, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got any value, please hit like, please share, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for your support. Aloha.